Well, hi everyone, I'm Tim Christensen. I own a company called Design Renovations. Over all the years of doing this, I remodel homes, I built homes, but most of the time I remodel homes. And it's the houses that you live in. You know, styles have changed, needs have changed over the years. And all of you are here kind of because of the title. You know, as our kids have all left, our house is empty and they come home, our families have grown in size, our kitchens haven't. Where does everyone end up? In the kitchen. What do? You chase them out because there isn't room for them. And you know, as we go around, if anyone has any questions, please stop me as we go through. I'm going to try and show you a few floor plans, you know, before and after, and then some slides that go with it. So as we go through, I'm trying to show you why we changed the flow of it. You know, some of the things that I look for when I come into your home is the houses that were built lots of times had a dining room, a breakfast nook, or a breakfast nook and no dining room, but a small kitchen, a living area, a lot of hallway. The hallway ends up being space that you don't always use. Sometimes actually the bathroom door is in the wrong spot, so it actually ends up into a room where it's always visible. And you know, it's not a big deal, but sometimes we can change these things and make the flow of your room come better. It's also how much you use your outdoor space. So you'll notice on a couple of these projects, I haven't got a lot of outdoor pictures on them because of the time of year when I took these. But the landscaping on them and stuff, I try to look at the outdoor space so that if you're in the kitchen or you're in that living area and we're going out onto a deck or we've got a barbecue grill, are we using that barbecue grill? Now, some of the things that you have to ask yourself is, you know, are these things that we use? At my house, the barbecue grill is used 12 months out of the year, all year long. So, you know, that's something that was important to us as we redesigned the house and re-looked at traffic flow. One of them I'll show you here in Bloomington. All right, excuse me, it's Egan. Let's see if we can't get this to go forward for me. This is one that we did this past year, and this is an older house. It's turn of the century. It had lots of rooms. It had been added on to a ton of times, but none of them were actually allocated for what they were. If you'll notice here, the kitchen comes in from the back area. You've got a closet. You're walking through everything. All of your traffic comes through. This was a bulk storage area. The living room is sitting over here. There was a formal dining room, but it really wasn't big enough for the table they had. So I tried to look at how the traffic flow comes. Where's the sink? We came in the bathrooms here. The half bath was fine, but getting to it was kind of a problem. So it was tucked off at a space where at the back door there wasn't room to really do anything. So as we redesigned the home, I moved the doorway so that we had a little bench here. Well, now the half bath ends up, but also if you look at your kitchen, you come into your kitchen area, you've got room for a big island, you've got a baking center, you've got a pantry. We took this bulk storage area at the end of the stairway and made another pantry unit. So we slid another unit in there. Your cooktop is located in, you know, across from here. Also, as we go through, you'll find that there's always places for, you know, your garbage, your pots and pan storage. I'll try and show you some of this, but all these different features we look at, where's it going to be? One of the things I look at when I talk to you, are you right-handed or left-handed? I always put cutting boards in a kitchen these days. Now, cutting boards will go halfway through your recycle area. So when you're kind of get done with that garbage, it goes right into here. You know, it's easy to scrape off. They're just little features that you look at and that you're trying to allocate. But we ended up with this area down here as a breakfast area. We took this door here and moved it over here to come out onto their deck. So now their barbecue area comes out onto an area that they could use rather than going all the way through their new dining room. Let me show you a few pictures of this one. This is that breakfast area. Here's where I moved the door. The dining room area ended up being 12 by 27. They entertain a lot. They actually have a table for 12. So, you know, this is a bigger house, but before they didn't have room for their furniture. In here we also took, and as I'll show you, we looked at a beverage center where they entertain a lot. And you may do this, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later on, but I've had clients our age that come through, and now we're socializing. You've got friends that you've from work, you've got friends you've retired with. You don't see them anymore. You don't have a reason to see them. So people have started forming cooking clubs. once a month through the winter months or through the year, once every other month, a host picks out a menu or a theme. 4 to 6 people, couples, end up coming in and cooking a meal, serving wine, whatever it is you choose to do, and they have a reason to socialize. And they're having fun while they do it. So it could be that the host does the entree, someone else does the vegetable or the dessert, but it's things that you pick out as a group. And so during the year, I found this very intriguing. All of a sudden, this kitchen you've got that you weren't using or that you weren't utilizing, you've got a place for. So that's, as you look at it, you know, I pointed out earlier, you've got a baking center over in this area. The garbage is actually right here. There's a cutting board above it. Later on, I'll show, I think I've got a slide underneath the cooktop. This cooktop has storage for all of your cooking utensils. Your pots and pan storage is right here, and it pulls out, and it's a stainless steel tray so that all your lids stand on edge. All your pots stand on edge. So, and the reason the lids are so important, if you've noticed, your lids usually have a place for moisture. You throw them in someplace, and you've got kind of a moisture issue if they sit there. If you get them on edge, they drain correctly. So there's some thought put to it. Back over here, we did a beverage center. We got the beverages out of the refrigerator. It got people out of your refrigerator. But also, it was another prep area. One of the things that I found with my children when they moved home and they'd grown up is my oldest son likes to cook with us. Before we redid our kitchen, it was, well, what can I do? I don't know. I don't have a place for you. Now all of a sudden, you know, as we redesigned the kitchen, we've got places for them. So, okay, yeah, here's the celery, here's carrots, go cut them up. You know, there's some hors d'oeuvres we planned, take them out of the fridge, you know, put them on, you take care of them. So as each of the 3 children come home, it's not so much anymore that, you know, we don't have something for them, but it's a matter that, yes, if you want to help, you can, or if you want to sit at the counter and talk to us, you can. We talked earlier, and one of the things I found for my own kids, if I keep them busy, they're more apt to talk, include themselves in the conversation. You give them something to do, and in the process, well, yeah, this is what's been going on in my life. Or if they had nothing to do, they go in the other room and turn on the TV because they don't feel there's room for them. So this is part of the reason we redesign our homes. It's not just for the fact that we want a new kitchen, but it's how do we redesign our home so that everyone feels comfortable in it and we feel comfortable in it. The other thing that you'll notice on this one, a turn-of-the-century house, instead of doing the standard trim, I made trim, or we manufactured trim that was in this country French flavor, but it's the old style trim, so it has a seat, a stool, sides, a 5-inch top. Even the baseboard, you can kind of see down here, I went to a taller baseboard with a cap on it. To retrim this house to look authentic was about $600 in material versus what we would have put in. But it really pushed the project up over the top of where everything looked original. I mean, when you walk into it, it's like, wow, before it was, this is really nice. But now it's not just really nice. It's like, wow, this is really nice. And that's kind of what you're looking for. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was a matter of how we did it. There's a beverage center we were talking about earlier, and you can see the trim a little bit clearer in this photo. So you'll see that I went with a wider stool, and it actually extends beyond like the older houses did. We've got the apron, side pieces. You can kind of see better here. I did a pencil piece here, a 5-inch piece, and another pencil piece on top for accent. The baseboard, as we were showing you earlier, you can kind of see the cap board down here on top. Those things all kind of just pushed it right up over. You're seeing a lot of granite on these projects. Even if we do a plastic laminate top, if you take and do a nice backsplash out of some ceramic tile or something decorative, it really brings that product out and makes it look richer. So sometimes you don't have to necessarily go to granite to get a look of granite. There's some plastic laminates out there today that are very nice looking and very durable. And to make them accent, take and consider doing a nice tile job behind it. It's a few $100s, it's not real expensive, but it actually will make your whole project look nicer. You can see that besides having the table over on the side of breakfast area, we've got room here for 4 people at the bar. You know, so you're kind of getting a feel of how this thing is going to flow for a multitude of people. This is a project that I built in 1989. In 1989, an architect designed this home. And this last year we remodeled it because, again, we ended up with a small breakfast area, a little small kitchen, a pass-through to the dining room. Again, we had a wall through to the living room, so that when you ended up, you had a kitchen where you didn't talk to somebody in the living room, you really didn't visit to the dining room, and their backyard, they've got a door here going out to their backyard, when really their view and all their landscaping's here. So when we redesigned this one, we opened it up so that we put the door going out here. It actually started putting space so that it focused toward that backyard that they spent so much time designing. Alice, the people that own this, she has an arthritis issue. Now, without bringing this up, her husband and I both realized that she may someday end up in a wheelchair. So when we designed this, we actually went to a large granite table that was table height, because we were considering that if she ever does, we want to make this handicapped accessible. So in here, there's a few things that we did. Like, for example, here, they can pull up to a wheelchair. It's a height that can be. There's some things in the kitchen that we actually designed so that it could be used that you can reach. The other one was over the cooktop here. I'll show you a picture of it later. But I put a pot fill faucet. One of the things that she has trouble with arthritis is holding onto a heavy pan. So by putting a pan on there and having a way to fill it, it still allows her to cook in her kitchen and will for a lot more years. So there's things that you talked to me about that we will change. This area on the previous slide, one of the things that came in, we had a closet here. We actually took that space, and there's not a bath on this floor. We made a very small but a very functional half bath here. So if Alice is on this first floor, she can use everything on the first floor. But also it helped for the other thing. We used a sliding door rather than a swing door. When I changed it, a sliding door made more sense. So this was closed off, and we actually put a pocket door in here. We had a structural beam going through here, and I'll show you later where I actually made that shorter and made it a feature, so that we came up and we hid this because all the ductwork for the second floor went through there. Before it was like this deep, it was 14 inches deep, and now it's 6 inches deep. We redesigned the ductwork, redesigned the beam so that it looks like it's actually part of the project. We put a fireplace here in the end. We made this whole thing so that from the kitchen here, you've got a fireplace, you've got a wet bar, you've got a library, you've got bookshelves. They do two easy chairs on each side because this is all part of it. From the kitchen, you can see the TV right here. All the windows that were on this east wall, we got rid of. They really didn't serve anything. They looked out at a neighbor's house. So in getting rid of them, it gave us the wall space to do what we wanted. This is the island I was telling you about. We came along with this table. We've got a nice island to serve from. Again, we've got a prep area over in this area. We've got garbage on the island. We've got a pot fill faucet here. I utilized this corner, which was usually a dead space, and I threw the double ovens in there. Now the double ovens have a drawer below it and space above it. And on this particular one, we took above it and we did all tray storage. She had a lot of trays. They're light, they're easy to pick up. So that was a place where, even though it's tall, it's easy for someone to assess. One of the things in life that the Lord didn't give me was height. But the Lord gives you other gifts. So when I looked at it, when I designed kitchens, sometimes this is an advantage. A lot of ladies aren't that much taller than I am or a lot much shorter than I am. So when I'm designing something, I always look at it, how does a shelf adjust so that you can reach it? And that's earlier when I talked about being right-handed or left-handed. There's things that you look at that it makes more sense to put a cutting board on this hand because that's where you're comfortable working. So if you have a choice, there's times when you're looking at how does this going to flow for you. As you're going to that garbage and you're left-handed, you may feel more comfortable having the cutting board here and the garbage here. So you're going this direction. It's just, there's things that you consider as you're going through. Here, being a nice contemporary design, this house was actually done as, isn't that old. But these folks really liked contemporary features. So we did a very contemporary kitchen. And we did the same thing with all their trim work. All their light fixtures are contemporary design. Now you can kind of see a little bit from here. These drawers here actually are, again, because the cooktop, depending on the brand of cooktop you put in, if you've got enough space, we can put storage underneath for all of your utensils you use at the cooktop. The drawer on one side over here is actually a knife storage drawer. So sometimes in that prep area, I'm looking at where you're going to be using your knives. So I'll put a cutting block in there, so when you open up the drawer, all of your cutlery is put here. Because the dishwasher was in the island, there's actually a cutlery drawer in the divider where you pull out, and that's where all of your spoons, all of your cutlery would be. So we kind of look at how you use your kitchen. Also here you kind of see there's a drawer down there. Maybe I'll show this to you later on, but I also take the space underneath the sink and gain an extra drawer. But this is where I wanted to point out again, remember in the plan, in our blueprint, I said we could see all the way to the living room. Well, from the kitchen, remember the TV was over on that wall? Well, we can actually see from here all the way into here, so when people are there, the game is on, because they're game fans, they're game people. They wanted to be able to see a football game and visit with people while this is happening. These are things that you kind of tell me on how you live. You know, it's what's important to you. I brought this out because, I wanted to show this feature, this pot fill. I also wanted to show you this tile. It's a very unique tile job tile that they picked out. It looks like it's basket weave. So these are things that you pick out. So as we go through and we talk about design, all of it's from the start to the end. Someone asked me how long does it take to do a kitchen design. It's usually about 90 days. And the reason it's 90 days is because as you come in and you correct all these things, but there's also a couple places in here when you're going to make choices on colors that just you aren't comfortable with. I've stopped with ceramic tile because I've had people pick out ceramic tile or granite, and they've picked it out and they said, well, yeah, I made a choice. But my feeling is they made a choice because they had to. It wasn't the choice they wanted. So when we're doing this, maybe we need to go back together and visit the granite people, or the tile people. So there's times we do this together. Sometimes you're very capable of doing it yourself. Sometimes you need some help. These people, color-wise, were very capable of doing it themselves. I had another client last year that really their color sense wasn't that great. So in the process, we kind of did things together. Again, don't mean to offend anyone, but they realized this, that stuff just didn't flow. When we got done, then it did. It's something they really wanted. I kind of wanted to show this because the bar and the fireplace all turned out very well. But also this feature here, she does a lot of quilting. So she made a feature for her house. So sometimes when you're decorating your home, you decorate your home. This is your home. As we're doing ceramic tile work or we're doing other things, it's kind of what you like. Her mom was directly from France. She had a lot of glass work that was from the old country. But again, we made a bar. Down here, this is actually, if you notice, I raised this door all the way up. I do this a lot in kitchen sinks because right now I gained a towel drawer right there. So instead of having your towels someplace else, your dishcloths, they're right where you're going to use them. But even in a small kitchen, people come in and say, I've got really a small kitchen. Where do I gain anything? You realize how valuable one drawer is in a small kitchen? So, you know, there's times when I look at this and I'd ask myself a number of years ago, why do I have to have these tip outs? Nobody uses them. Why do I have this little blank plate? And my answer was, well, I don't want to see the sink. Well, which would you rather see? The sink when you open the doors, or would you rather have an extra drawer? Most people have never seen that sink anyway. So after I've done it a few times and they go to someone else's house, they go, you're right, this works. Just another shot here to kind of show you how it all comes together. This project's just not too far from here. It's actually in Egan. And you'll notice here we kept the kitchen in a similar location. It's a two-story house, but we did this one, so we came in here, the dining room. This window I took out, and I actually put a door to the deck. So we created a deck in this area. The family room is here. We added the sunroom. So the sunroom goes to the deck goes to the dinette, or the little breakfast area. So as you're coming through and you've got, and they just had a reception for a wedding for their daughter. They've got a couple people there that are in canes and walkers, and they said, you know, everything was accessible as it went around. No one felt like they weren't part of the conversation. And this is what we were striving for. So if you were out in the barbecue deck barbecuing, you were kind of right close to the kitchen, right close to the sunroom. This is just a shot of the deck and how it comes in with the sunroom and how I changed the door. The rest of the location I kind of kept similar, but changed it. So we opened it up. We did a movable island because it's narrow. Nice hood design, by the way. So we did something very short and narrow so that it didn't make it seem too enclosed. He has his office at home. So on this side where it used to be a little just broom closet, I actually made a coffee center. So he's got cups, he's got things when people come in, and he has people that come in and out of his house. His office is downstairs in the lower level, but they can grab a cup of coffee, they go down. On the other side of that hallway, we had a little bit of space. That's where I put a beverage center. So now we got it out of their kitchen again. We put it over on the side. As you can see, this also doubles as a deck or a desk. We put a few pigeonholes in here for their mail slots. And this was something that was important in the way they live. You've got a good idea. You can kind of see through to the family room. We actually took this family room wall, which was just plain. We added bookcases to each side of the fireplace, and we added a mantle that matched it. So as we went out into that sunroom, there was a continuity to it. This is a house that this is done in a rustic hickory. This is my home, and I did some things in here that other people may not do. My wife is from North Dakota. That is their original homestead of her grandparents in North Dakota. So I'm a bird dog hunter. My wife had my bird dogs put in it. I wanted to show you this because having that hand painted and done the way we want it was $500. You know, it wasn't a terrific amount of money considering the total cost of the project, but we personalized it to what we wanted for a backsplash. So there are some things that when you come through, it's not just that you have to buy some little square and put in there. What do you like? You know, how do you live? So as we did this and it was our opportunity, I took a space that was actually to include my wife's family into it and ourselves. We took something from hers. We opened this house up. This is a 70s house. So there was a beam going through. Again, you'd had a little kitchen with just one window. We opened it up into some big corner windows. By taking the beam out of the ceiling, we opened it up through the front of the house to the side of the house. It had a small dining area, which was over here. We added the sunroom. It just kind of opened it up and made it a bigger house. The bearing wall, which used to be the hallway, started here and went across to the other cabinets. And that's where when I mentioned earlier about having more hallway, a lot of houses are built this way. You know, you come in the front, you've got a bearing wall, they've got a call closet, but everything kind of flows so that you're blocked off. You know, you don't ever actually get from the front of the house to the back. Some of the other things that I've done on homes in the last couple of years, notice these doors right here, they match the cabinets. Our cabinet maker made them, and they're solid hickory. But it gave, again, when you're looking at it, it kind of gave you a really quality feel as you went through. Seeing it's my house and my wife had trouble with this, Sandy would call me up and she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm in a junk shop in Minneapolis," or an antique shop, excuse me. "Why?" She said, "Aren't you working?" "Well, yeah, I was looking for this hardware. I wanted to make my side-by-side refrigerator look like an old-fashioned ice box. So I wanted the hardware that I saw as a kid in some of the grocery stores. And I thought, this has got to be here. So I found it on Payne Avenue at a place called the Golden Lion. The hinges were easy to find, but most of the latches were destroyed. But how we open our refrigerator is with the old-fashioned icebox look. So I'm trying to stimulate your mind into thinking I don't have to have a stainless steel refrigerator. It's not that you can't have, but what do you want? You know, what looks good to you? In my world, I liked some of the old stuff, having a house that's had a country flavor. I wanted to keep that country look. And by the way, this look right now is in the Sub-Zero catalog. They did it in cherry. But a similar pattern is in the Sub-Zero book. This is where I wanted to show you the stainless steel pots and pan storage. You've got a drawer here for your cooking utensils. We had 6.5 inches, I think it was, right here, or 6 inches. I made a full-length spice rack, and that's 6 inches. So rather than having some place that was just a blank, spices you can never have enough of. Here's that towel drawer that's underneath the sink. So you've got one other drawer. This is a relatively big kitchen, as you can tell. But the fact is look at all the other places you've got. I talked earlier about having a garbage area, a recycle area, and a cutting board. You notice how, again, they come side by side. One overlaps the other. There's also a cutting board here on each side of the stove, and the baking center drops, and all the baking spices are in the baking center. So there's things that we've planned on, we talk about, but each one has a reason. If you've noticed, I dropped the baking area because it's easier to roll dough. So if you actually do bake, sometimes this height isn't comfortable where this height is. I talked a little bit earlier about the Gourmet Cooking Club, and we can back up to any of the slides you'd like. But this is something that my clients keep bringing up to me. How do we start one? Who do we start it with? And they've been brainstorming on it. My wife and I have been invited to 2 parties like this, and I've asked, how do you do it? And usually the general theme is we find people from church, we find people socially that we're comfortable with, we find people from work that we used to socialize with, or we still do. It's kind of fun. Give it a thought. These kitchens actually let you do this. So the way I'm designing kitchens today, it's sometimes even with your family. But as you're designing kitchens for how you're living now, you're looking at, it's not just a kitchen anymore, it's a social place. I'm open for questions. I've been doing all the talking, and I haven't had too much here. So what can I do for you? Go ahead.
The aluminum shelving standard unit?
Under the cooktop? Yeah. Yes. It's actually stainless, but yes, I do that, and it's pretty much standard. I include it in. If someone doesn't want it, you don't have to do it. If there's not space for it, I don't do it. I do other types of storage. The house I have a house for an office. Doing this for a business, part of our retirement plan once was, why do I have an office space? I can't show anything in office space. So, a number of years ago, we just bought a house and rehabbed it. So I bought a 1925 St. Paul bungalow and I didn't expand the kitchen. I left that kitchen like you'd see in St. Paul. I mean, it's kind of a narrow, about 8 by 10. And I tried to do the things in there when people ask, okay, I've got a small kitchen. How do I remodel it? It's easy to remodel a big kitchen. You can get more things in it. But when you got a small kitchen and you want a dishwasher in it, that's 24 inches out of not that much space. So now what do I do with the rest of it? And the old St. Paul houses, every one of them I've been in, have always had at least 2 doorways, normally 3 and sometimes 4 going into the kitchen. So, which one don't I need? And, how do I make my cabinets work around it? So in a small kitchen like that, at this office house, actually on an end wall, we made a hutch for dishes and things, but we made it narrow. The base, instead of being 24 inches deep, is only, I think it's 18 inches deep. The upper is still 12. We still have slide outs for your cutlery. We still have storage up above for all your dishes. But we took an area that, if it was full depth, would not allow you to get out the back door. But this allowed you to still have nice traffic flow. You could still get around it. So in designing the depth of the cabinet and changing how it worked, it still made it a great little kitchen. It's still easy to cook in. It's not much bigger than 2 people though. There's no way around that if you had 4 people in here, you're not going to be overcrowded. But if you've got 2 people in it, there's still kind of room. Thank you so much.